So next up, we need to talk about ways to make money within DeFi. DeFi is really like an umbrella term, and there's several different aspects that you can go about putting your assets to work within the DeFi ecosystems. So starting with liquid staking, we talked about staking earlier, and when you stake an asset, you're staking your assets to a validator, and your assets are locked for a predetermined amount of time. Well, with liquid staking, you are locking your tokens with a specific provider, and then they give you receipt token. And then with that receipt token, you're able to participate in other protocols on the network.
Next, we have borrowing and lending. What this allows is that if you have Bitcoin, ETH, XRP, Flare, whatever, instead of having to have deploy new capital to be able to keep buying things or enter a liquidity pool, what you can do is you lend your assets, you borrow against your assets, and then you have access to capital to do other things. And this is extremely powerful because you don't have to ask permission for anyone to have access to money. You and only you are responsible for managing that debt. And this does not exclude you from making bad decisions. This is very important. DeFi empowers users, but does not force them to make better decisions. $1 million, and you needed to buy a $300,000 house. Instead of selling your Bitcoin to buy that house, you lend your Bitcoin, you have access to capital, you buy that house in cash, and then you manage your loan in whatever way you think it's the best. So borrowing and lending gives you access to capital with your crypto. And this is so powerful. Like, I don't think people have really understood the power of this yet.
Not yet, but soon to come. So next up, we have futures. Futures are a trading mechanism that allows you to bet on the future price of a given asset. So for instance, say you expect the price of XRP or SUI even to increase from the current price. Well, you can enter a position that will pay you out within that given contract expire date if the price of that asset meets what you expect it to.
And then it's not only crypto, like futures also works for gold. It also works for precious metals. It works for commodities. It might be like rare elements. Like futures contracts are used everywhere in the financial system.
Yeah, I mean, like even wheat has, futures contracts. So that just goes to show you how widespread and how much support the futures trading mechanism is used. And then perpetuals, basically, they're the same thing as futures, except there's no expiration date.
And perpetuals, you can also take leverage to increase your position, which increases the chances that you make more money, but it also increases the chance that you lose more money. So this should not be taken lightly, but these are just tools. Like I said before, this does not force you to make better decisions. These are just tools that when you think that the tools are appropriate, you can leverage them and use them to your advantage.
And then finally, we have AMM. So think of like a DEX or decentralized exchange that allows you to enter liquidity pools. So a liquidity pool, basically, you put up two assets, whether, for example, USDC and wrapped Flare. You put those two assets in a pool. You can earn fees based on the volume of that DEX and how often that pair is traded. So you are facilitating trades within that pool on that particular DEX.
One thing that is very important to understand is that with DeFi, you are providing a service. So if you lend an asset, you are providing a service that you're getting paid on, because if you lend an asset, then that allows other people to borrow against your asset. If you do a liquidity pool, you're providing the service of providing liquidity for other people to be able to swap back and forth without having to go to a centralized exchange. And that is what you're getting paid for. This is very important to understand.